Are you optimistic or pessimistic on race relations?
I'm pessimistic. I'm pessimistic
Why?
because it's not, on one hand, I hold the politicians accountable because it's very, very different. It's very difficult to hold folks to a standard in our nation that our leaders won't comply with. We have politicians on Capitol Hill calling each other out their names, acting like a bunch of hooligans, a bunch of belligerent children. It's embarrassing. And they should be ashamed of themselves. They really, really should, because I think that they've contributed to the disintegration of our society morally, not just by how they've conducted themselves, but how they've chosen to conduct themselves openly. I think Trump is guilty of that. I think folks with the whole McCarthy thing, when he was trying to become the Speaker of the House, you saw how folks were acting. You saw how they were acting when they pushed him out. You see some of the things Republicans and Democrats alike, how they speak about one another. No honor, no decorum, no decency whatsoever. There's been people on the left that's calling Republicans all kinds of names, but then you want to do business with them and expect us to believe that y'all could do business with one another. I think that's an utter disgrace, but I also think that society has gravitated towards that. And I think that you have an abundance of people out there who were looking for an excuse to get away or to find a way to be able to get away with acting the way that they always wanted to act to begin with. Do I think, for example, Clay, as I'm sitting here with you now, that Donald Trump and kind of provoked and egged on dudes or folks that showed up on Capitol Hill? Do I believe it was an insurrection? Sure. But I also think, and I've said this publicly, those were grown-ass people. Now, he gave a speech, and he talked about walking over there peacefully, but in the same breath, peace wasn't on his mind, and you can engage in whatever you want. But at the end of the day, they're responsible for their actions. To me, not necessarily him. That's my personal opinion. But in the same breath, my God, what if elected officials had gotten killed? 5 police officers did die. I'm just thinking along those lines. How are we okay with that? And so then when we look at a society and we say we are okay with that, there's a lot of us that are okay with that. We see a lot of lawlessness going on throughout this country. You know why? Because that's how they wanted to be to begin with. They were just looking for an excuse. And I don't see how it gets better if our leaders don't get better.
I'm curious, bigger picture. Do you think that America would be better off if Democrats and Republicans had to equally compete for the black vote instead of many black voters automatically aligning with the Democrat Party, sometimes, arguably, and I think accurately, meaning that black issues get taken for granted by the Democrat Party because they feel like they've already got that support? Would it be better to have a competition for the black vote in your mind?
Absolutely. I think it would be better for society as a whole. I've always stated that. I've given speeches. Your alma mater, one of your alma maters, because I know you got a law degree and stuff like that. But Vanderbilt University, I spoke at Vanderbilt University, and when I spoke there, that was one of the places that I've spoken at. But I've spoken to many places throughout the country, and one of the lines that I've used is that I wish for one election every black person votes Republican. They were like, "What?" And I was like, "Yes." I said, because anything that you buy, you have to see, guess what? Convince me, flatter me. You want to buy a new car? Show me what you got. You want a new house? Show me what you got. You want a condo? Show me what you got. You want some clothes? Show me what you got. Why are we being transparent in our support? Now, times have changed, obviously, because of Trump and what have you. And that's not a subject that I'm running from with you or anybody else, by the way, because I have different reasons of feeling the way that I feel. But nevertheless, the point that I'm making is that prior to him, I was always big on, look, flatter me. Don't assume I'm voting. Now, granted, most of the time I voted Democrat. As a matter of fact, the only Republican I ever voted for was Chris Christie because I couldn't stand Corzine in New Jersey. But as I reflected on elections over the years, there are times that I wish I would have voted for a Republican because I don't get caught up in all of that. I believe in free market capitalism. I believe in national security. I don't believe in these high taxes that you see in the state of New York and California. I do think that the wealth needs to be spread out, but I do believe in free market capitalism. I absolutely do that. I'm not ashamed of that by any stretch of the imagination. You got a lot of people here thinking capitalism is evil. And my attitude is, well, then why don't you go somewhere else? And I don't mean leave the country and you shouldn't be an American citizen or whatever the case may be. What I'm saying is this is our society is considered one of the best on the planet. We have our flaws. We have our mistakes. We're not perfect. I get all of that. But based on what I see elsewhere in this world, I can't imagine a system that I would rather be under, at least before the last 6 or 7 years or so, where I think chaos has just reigned. That's just how I feel about it, and I don't apologize for it to anybody.
How many kids out there do you think have the ability to be the next Stephen A. that just don't get the opportunity to do it?
Well, I'm never going to sit up there and say that there aren't an abundance of people that can't be me. They just need to understand what being me entails. That means putting your head down and willing to put in the work. That means willing to make personal sacrifices for a greater goal. Understanding that everything that glitters isn't gold. It's about the work. Don't look at the 20 minutes or the 2 hours or whatever it is that I'm on television. Think about the work that I've had to put in. Think about the sacrifices. I remember when a kid came up to me years ago and he said, "Mr. Smith, I'm an admirer, I'm a fan, and I just want to talk to you." And I said, "What's up?" He said, "I got this job offer in Seattle." I said, "So what's the problem?" And he said, "Well, I'm in love. I mean, I don't want to leave Maryland. My lady's not coming to Seattle with me, but I don't want to leave." And I said, "I can't make that decision for you. Here's all I can tell you. Love don't pay the bills." I said, and at the end of the day, if you don't have anything going for you, you got to take care of yourself, because I assure you, if you can't take care of yourself, she's not going to want to have to take care of you, which means she ain't going to be there anyway. So I strongly suggest that you think about this decision long and hard. And I use that as an example, just to highlight for folks, it's about the work. When you Stephen A. Smith, it's everybody from, people in the industry in the world of sports to somebody like yourself, claytravis, and the list goes on and on. Well, guess what? There's a standard that's been set. There's a standard that's been established. There's a standard that has been exceeded. Are you measuring up to that? Are you bringing that to the table? And are you committed to doing so, to making sure that you have that kind of impact where you resonate? Or are you just looking for somebody to hand you opportunities and hand you rewards that you haven't earned? I've never been about that. I've always been about going after mine and getting mine and being willing to put in the work and make the necessary sacrifices. So what I preach to a lot of youngsters out there, if you're willing to do that, you damn right you can be me. And I said this years ago. I said the Jay-Z's, the Kobe Bryant's, God rest his soul, the Shaquille O'Neal's, LeBron James, and others. You can't be them. They're not the American dream. They're the American fantasy come reality. I said, because it's an aberration. That's a once in a billion shot. I said, but you can be Stephen A. Smith. You can get left back in the 4th grade because you had a first very reading level. You can have dyslexia and work your tail off and overcome that. You can put your head down and work hard and be committed to being the best that you possibly can be, and you can end up being successful. Everybody can't be them, but there's millions of people that can be me. I firmly believe that, and I stand by that.